What if you knew there was a key within you that could eliminate fear forever? What if you realized that what you fear most is simply a shadow created by your own mind, and that you've been holding the light all along? Fear has been the quiet force behind every decision you've delayed, every dream left unfulfilled, and every path you've avoided. It's the mask that hides the truth, the voice telling you you can't do it, you're not good enough. What if you fail? But where does fear really come from? Is it there to protect you, to trap you, or to mark a crucial point you need to cross? Today, we'll explore the spiritual truth of fear, not by fighting it or brushing it aside with empty positivity, but by understanding its origins, its role on your journey, and how to turn it into power. Throughout history, wise teachers have said that fear is the dragon guarding the treasure. And that treasure is you, your true self, your inner light, and your boundless ability to shape your world. But to claim it, you must face the dragon, not with force, but with awareness. In this video, we will reveal what fear truly is from an energetic and spiritual point of view, why it holds us back in modern life, and how it has been used to control us. We'll also share ancient wisdom on how to overcome fear, practical techniques to free your mind and energy, and how doing this can align you with your inner strength. Yes, you can be invincible, not because you'll never feel fear, but because you will learn to walk with it, to transform its shadow into clarity. Fear doesn't disappear when you deny it. It dissolves when you understand it. You're on the edge of a life-changing moment, not a physical one, but an internal shift to your deepest power. All you need is the courage to look within. Are you ready to awaken the warrior of light within you? Fear is nothing new. It wasn't created with you or your generation. It's an ancient presence, a shadow that has followed humanity since the beginning. To truly understand it and dissolve it, we need to trace its history through time and ancient teachings. In early human history, fear had a clear purpose: protection. It was the body's alarm that went off when danger was near, like a predator, fire, or extreme cold. It was essential for survival, even sacred in its role, keeping our ancestors alert and alive. But over time, fear evolved. When external threats became less frequent, it started reacting to internal ones, often imagined threats: rejection, failure, loneliness. Fear turned from a survival tool into an invisible prison for the soul. Ancient wisdom, from the Vedas to Hermetic teachings, from shamanism to Gnostic philosophy, saw fear not as just a reflex, but as a powerful energy trapped in the body and mind. They understood that where fear exists, there's a barrier between us and our true selves. The Vedas called it Maya, illusion, the false belief that we're separate from everything else. They taught that fear arises when we forget who we truly are. Gnostics viewed fear as a distortion, a veil that keeps us stuck in a limited view of the world. The ego, the false self that fears its own death, feeds this fear to maintain control. Shamanism saw fear as something alive, something we can confront, communicate with, and transform through rituals and expanded consciousness. Even in classical philosophy, fear was a topic of deep study. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said that it's not what happens to us that causes fear, but how we interpret it. And Plotinus, the Neoplatonist, said that the soul is freed from fear when it looks towards the eternal. But fear isn't just a topic from ancient times. In Christian mysticism, it's described as the absence of love. St. John said, "Perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not reached perfection in love." From this perspective, fear isn't defeated by force or denial. It's transformed through awareness, love, and a broader understanding. Fear is a door disguised as a shadow, one that opens when we stop pushing and start observing. In modern times, fear has changed form. It's no longer the growl of a predator. It's anxiety about the future, fear of failure, fear of judgment or not fitting in. But at its core, it's still the same fear. The fear of losing control, disappearing, or not being enough. This is why spiritual reflection is so important today. Modern fear doesn't protect us, it limits us. And if we don't address it, it can become the quiet enemy of our purpose, potential, and peace. Ancient teachings have left us a map, reminding us that fear is an illusion, a mask that hides the truth. Today, we'll use this wisdom to explore how to dissolve fear. What happens when you stop letting fear control you? What if fear isn't the enemy but the toughest and wisest teacher you'll ever have? This might seem paradoxical, but it opens the door to a new way of understanding what has limited us for so long. To start eliminating fear, rejecting it isn't enough. You have to understand where it comes from, what it's really about, and what it's trying to teach you. Fear is a mental pattern, fueled by emotions in the body. It's a bond between the mind and nervous system that develops over time. Each time you feel fear, you're not facing real danger. You're reacting to a mental image of a possible threat. In other words, fear is imagination fueled by past trauma, and this is the spiritual truth. Fear isn't real the way we experience it is. Fear often disguises itself as logic, caution, or common sense. It whispers to us, don't do it. Wait for everything to be perfect. What if they turn you down? What if you fail? But in reality, fear isn't keeping you safe. It's holding you back. From an energetic perspective, fear is a low frequency, usually rooted in the lower part of our energy body, especially the first chakras. It's tied to survival, scarcity, and mistrust. When fear lingers for too long, it creates blockages that prevent the free flow of energy, like a stagnant current that stops energy from rising to higher centers, where creativity, vision, and unconditional love reside. Interestingly, fear doesn't vanish when you overcome what you once feared. It stays inside. You can achieve success, experience love, and enjoy good health, yet still feel fear because it doesn't come from the world around you. It comes from your unconscious reaction to it. This is where spiritual work becomes crucial. The soul didn't come to avoid fear, but to rise above it, to go through the process of facing it, and with awareness, transform it into light. When you do this, fear becomes a hidden doorway. If you walk through it with courage, you'll find your true strength on the other side. So how do we face fear? First, we need to realize that fear is trapped energy, frozen by past experiences like rejection, abandonment, humiliation, or loss. This unprocessed energy seeks to repeat itself so it can be released. That's why we often attract what we fear, not as punishment, but as an opportunity to heal. Second, stop fighting fear. What you resist will keep coming back. What you observe without judgment will change. Fear craves your attention, not your hatred. Third, recognize that behind every fear is a desire, something deep down you long for. If you fear public speaking, it's because you want to be heard. If you fear rejection, it's because you want to love and be loved. Each fear uncovers a hidden treasure. True inner work means seeing fear as a mirror, not as something to avoid, but as a sacred signal of what you're ready to embrace. Your soul isn't leading you through fear to punish you, but to reveal the strength inside you that you haven't acknowledged yet. When you begin to see fear this way, everything shifts. You stop running from it or trying to fight it. Instead, you feel it, honor it, and open yourself to its lessons. And then a new state emerges, not the absence of fear, but the presence of inner power. This power doesn't need to prove itself, doesn't fight or defend. It simply knows who it is. and you're closer to this state than you think. We've come to understand that fear isn't an enemy to destroy, but an energy to be understood, faced, and transformed. Now, we need to go beyond just recognizing its structure and see how it can turn into true spiritual power. This process is what many spiritual traditions call the fire of initiation. Ancient alchemists didn't just work with metals, they worked with the soul. For them, fear was the raw material needed to produce the gold of awakened consciousness. This powerful metaphor still guides those who choose to look at their shadows, not as flaws, but as keys to true growth. So, what does turning fear into strength look like in practice? First, realize that fear has a physical presence. It lives in your nervous system, showing up as a tightness in your stomach, a constriction in your chest, or the urge to flee. So the first step is to fully feel it without identifying with it. Most people try to block fear, overthink it, or turn it into anger. But a true alchemist stays present within the emotional fire, saying, "Here I am. I don't run, I don't fight, I don't deny, I just observe." In that moment, something amazing happens. Fear starts to dissolve, not because it's defeated, but because it's embraced with awareness. This awareness begins to shift the energy within your body, but that's just the beginning. The second step is to reinterpret fear, because what we call fear is often a sign of deep soul messages. For instance, if you fear failure, the real question isn't how to avoid it, but why you feel you need success to feel worthy. There, you'll discover that fear often stems from a false idea about who you are, and that idea can be changed. This brings us to a key realization. You are not your fears. You are the space where fear arises. Recognizing this is crucial. When you identify with fear, you strengthen it. But when you observe it from a higher level of awareness, fear loses its grip because it's no longer the center of your experience. It's just a visitor. This is where conscious breathing becomes a powerful tool. When you feel fear, breathe, not automatically but with intention. Breathe into where you feel the tension. Inhale with the message, "I am presence." Exhale with the message, "I release this fear." This simple practice helps reprogram your body, activating your parasympathetic nervous system and bringing you into a state of inner peace. Another important point, fear needs to be expressed, not in drama, but through creative outlets like art, movement, or mindful speech. Many spiritual teachers believed that unexpressed emotions get stuck in the soul. That's why practices like singing, dancing, crying, and deep writing are sacred acts of emotional cleansing. Finally comes the stage of replacing fear with a higher vibration. Once you've emptied the space fear occupied, you can't leave it empty. You must fill it with something new, like faith, gratitude, or a vision. Visualize, affirm, and repeat with confidence, "I am secure. I am guided. I am ready to become who I was meant to be." This act is not just symbolic, it's quantum. The universe doesn't respond to your words, but to your energy. When you start vibrating with certainty instead of doubt, the universe responds with synchronicities, opportunities, and open doors. Fear then stops being your jailer and becomes your guide, your threshold, your initiation. Once you cross over, there is no void, only freedom. The most beautiful part, you don't have to be fully prepared to start this process. You only need to make a decision. Decide that you will no longer let fear control you. Decide that you will move forward even if you feel scared. Decide that you will love even if it hurts. Decide that you will speak even if your voice shakes, because on the other side of fear is the life your soul has always dreamed of. Now that you see fear as energy, as a teacher, and as a doorway to your inner power, it's time to move beyond theory and into the practical everyday world. True spiritual transformation doesn't happen in books or abstract ideas. It happens in the real world, through your everyday choices, thoughts, and responses when fear knocks on your door. Here's a simple guide with powerful practices to help you start letting go of limiting energy and step confidently toward your inner strength. 1. Name and acknowledge your fear. Ignoring fear only makes it stronger. When you face it, it loses its power. Take a moment each day to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what am I afraid of today? Speak it out loud or write it down. Don't judge or hide it. Just make it visible. For example, I fear being alone. I fear failing this project. I fear not being enough for others. 2. Turn fear into an empowering mantra. Once you identify your fear, transform it into a positive affirmation. Words have energy, and what you say repeatedly becomes reality. If your fear is, I'm afraid no one will hear me, change it to, my voice matters. What I say inspires and makes a difference. Make this your mantra. Write it, say it, feel it. Rewrite the story you tell yourself. 3. Breathe and be present when fear arises. Most fear reactions happen automatically, but you are not your reactions. You are awareness. When anxiety, tension, or avoidance come up, stay with it. Take 10 slow, deep breaths, directing the air into the tense area. Use this simple formula. Inhale, I am safe. Exhale, I release fear. Repeat until you feel a shift in your energy. This practice helps you respond with calm rather than react impulsively. 4. Take symbolic action against your fear. Fear dissolves with action, not theory. Each week, do something that challenges you. Record a video, share a truth, reach out to someone, or take on a small dare. The goal isn't the outcome, but the act of doing it despite your fear. These actions tell both the universe and your subconscious that you're in control, not fear. 5. Purify your energy field every day. Fear clings to your energy like dust. You need daily spiritual cleansing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just simple practices like imagining the water washing away your fears during a mindful shower, burning incense like sandalwood or sage, or doing an inner fire meditation. Visualize a flame at your solar plexus, burning away doubts. Daily cleansing helps you stay grounded and balanced, even when challenges arise. 6. Create environments where fear can't grow. Fear thrives in negative, stressful, or overly controlling environments. Take a look at your social circle, the media you consume, and your mental habits. Ask yourself, does this conversation empower me or drain me? Does this content uplift or hypnotize me? Am I feeding my fear or my inner light? Change what needs to change. Without guilt, do it with confidence. 7. Thank your fear before releasing it. Finally, honor your fear. Thank it for what it taught you. Without fear, you wouldn't know yourself as deeply. Acknowledge its original purpose, protection, and then let it go like shedding old armor. Say aloud, thank you, fear. You've taught me, now I choose freedom. This small but powerful act marks the beginning of your transformation. The path to invincibility isn't about being fearless. It's about having courage, awareness, and taking action in alignment with your true self. Now, you have the tools to begin. You've chosen a path that many shy away from. You've faced fear not as an enemy, but as a gateway, and that shift changes everything. While the world runs from fear, you've stopped, observed, and most importantly, moved through it. This is not a fight between light and darkness. It's a process of integrating both. Fear is part of being human, yes, but it doesn't control your future. It's just an old story, one that, thanks to your awareness, can be rewritten today. You've learned that fear comes from the illusion of separation, the false belief that you're alone, not enough, or that the universe isn't supporting you. But that illusion fades when you realize who you truly are, an eternal part of everything, a creator, a powerful soul in human form. Understanding fear is the first step in mastering it. Feeling it without letting it define you is how you start transforming it. Acting in spite of fear is how you become the alchemist of your reality. Every time you take a step forward, even with trembling legs, every time you speak, even with a shaky voice, every time you trust without guarantees, you're stepping into your power. But this journey doesn't end here. It's an art you perfect day by day, in every choice, every emotion you choose to observe, and every step you take toward your soul's truth. And here's the great revelation. When you stop running from fear, life stops throwing it at you, because life isn't trying to punish you, it's trying to teach you, shape you, and remind you that you were made for more. You were meant to vibrate high, serve with purpose, and walk with faith. Being invincible doesn't mean feeling no fear. It means choosing love for truth over fear of loss. And you who have come this far have already crossed a threshold. Now it's time to act, to embody this wisdom and share it with others. You are never alone. You're supported by a higher intelligence that aligns with your energy. And when you walk in faith, the entire universe works with you. So I invite you, dare to speak, create, and love, not without fear, but in the presence of your own power. If this message resonated with you, subscribe, hit the bell, like this video, and share it with others who need to reconnect with their inner strength. Tell us in the comments which fear you're ready to release today. The first step to freedom is naming it. See you in the next adventure of self-awareness.